Hey guys, welcome to the tutorial of deploying a machine learning model. In this tutorial, we are going to deploy a already trained model into live production. I will try to keep things as simple as possible, and I hope you will be able to follow along when I am going through the tutorial. If not, please post your question on the chat and I'll take the questions at the very end of the tutorial. So with that, let's start. So for this tutorial, I'll be using this notebook. So our topic for today is deploying a machine learning model, and we are going to create a web application using Flask, a Python web framework, and deploy it in the cloud using render. You will also learn how to add HTML templates and see how to style it using CSS, very basic. By the end of this tutorial, you will have a basic understanding of how to create a web application using Flask, integrate machine learning models into the web application, and know how to deploy a web application to the cloud. The following topics are covered in this tutorial. First, we'll set up the project on GitHub and Conda environment. And then we'll create a simple web application using Flask, just a simple like print something on the web page. Then add HTML templates to the web app. Then we will see what ML model we are using. We will just learn a bit about it. We'll not go deep into the ML model. And then run the model locally on a web browser, publish to GitHub and deploy to render. And finally, we'll create an API route for the model. So that these are the topics that we are going to cover. There are certain prerequisites for this tutorial. I would say very basic. I think you should have very basic knowledge in Python. By basic, I just mean defining a function, I guess. Very basic knowledge of HTML tags like body, div, headings, forms, etc. And CSS styles like background color, text align, etc. And some level of understanding of machine learning concepts. Just like if you are given with the model, you should know how to predict with the value. Okay. I think you'll be able to understand even though you don't know some of this. So try to follow along. Okay. So definitely we are going to solve a problem in this tutorial. The problem states that you are given a pre-trained email spam classifier model and its requirements. Basically, what are the things there in the model? Our task would be to deploy the model and prepare it for end users. So anyone can go to the site, give an email or email body, and will be able to understand whether it's a spam email or not, whether it's not a spam email. To achieve this, we need to design a web page, definitely using HTML, and predict using the model whether it's a spam or not. The web page interface should be as friendly and simple, user-friendly and simple as possible. And in short, we have to design a form that takes only one input, that is the email body, the email text, and returns whether the email is spam or not. Okay. Cool. Enough of all this theoretical part. Let's start with creating the simple Flask app. For that, we'll start with creating a new repository on GitHub. I'll go to github.com. And I've already signed in. You can sign in or sign up to github.com. I'll create a new repository here and give a repository name. So let's say model deployment. It can be anything, any unique name. I will skip the description, keep it public, add a README file. You can add the README file later, but I'm adding it now. A gitignore template. This is basically a common template used for different programming languages. I'll use the Python one. And a license you can skip, but I'll use the MIT license just because like it's the best one for open source projects. Okay, so we have created a GitHub repository, right? So now let's start coding. We will be using code spaces here, but there are different options for code, for coding. Okay, so you can use Replit or VS Code locally for the coding part, but I'll be using GitHub Codespace as it is easy to set up. I'll just click on code here, go to code space and say create code space on main. Cool. Let that open, let that set up. I'll also have to create a Conda environment. Now, what is Conda? Conda is a package manager just like pip, and it also allows us to create environments. Now, an environment is useful to manage a certain project. So if you have a project, if you can build different environments for different projects, and have the packages required for particular projects in that particular environment. Okay, so this is our repository. So we will see if Conda is available for first. So you can just say Conda version. And yes, Conda is already available. Let's start by creating a Conda environment. So here is the command. You can just start create the environment. So I'll allow and Conda create -n. This environment name can be something like, let's say, model deployment. And I have assigned Python 3.7.10, but you can use the latest version also. I'll tell in the towards the end, I'll tell why I have used this particular version. So while it's installing, let us also install the Python extension to CodeSpace. Yep, there it is. Let's install this. And yeah, it's asking permission to install the different libraries. I'll just click yes. Okay, just a minute. I think there is an issue. You're not able to see the GitHub screen. Just give me one moment. Yep, I think it should be visible now. So I will just repeat the steps very quickly. So first, okay, I'll just start from creating a new GitHub workspace, right? So let's go to that. Yeah, sorry for all the issues. It was a technical glitch, I guess. So we will just log into GitHub first. Okay, github.com. We'll start here, click new repository. And let's say model deployment. As we already have model deployment, I will just say v2. I click on add a readme. I'll click on Python. I'll select the Python gitignore template. I'll select a license MIT. Okay, and I'll click on create repository. We are starting again from the GitHub, creating a new repository, right? So now next we will use a code editor. We can use Codespaces, we can use Replit, we can use VS Code. So here I'm going to use Codespaces. And in this tutorial, I have mentioned the different steps to install, like to use Replit, to use VS Code. Okay, so while it opens, I will just install the Python extension here. Let it open, I guess. I will stop the other code space because it might take some usage. So I'll just go to code spaces. Yep, just give me one moment. Yeah, I'll just delete this code space, the previous one. And here, yeah, the code space is now open. We'll install the Python extension. And I'll also check if Conda is available here. So Conda minus dash dash version. And yes, yes, Conda is available. So I will create a new Conda environment. So yeah, here is the code. Conda create -n environment name Python 3.7.10. So here I'll just give an environment name, let's say deployment. It can be anything, you can give any name, and I've assigned Python 3.7.10. So I'll let it install, and here I will, yep. So I'll let it install first. And here we'll say yes. I'll let it install all the packages. Yep, Conda is installed. I will try to activate this, but I think it should return some error. Let's see. Yep, it says Conda is not initialized. So I'll just say Conda init bash. I'm using bash shell. Cool. I think it's initialized. I'll have to just reopen a bash shell. I'll delete that previous one. And now you can see the Conda base environment here, right? So we created another environment called deployment. So Conda activate deployment. This will activate the deployment environment that we have created, right? Okay. So now we only have a few packages installed here. So you can see this 35. Okay. And so I would like to install different packages in this environment. I'll just select this packages installation, pip install, and enter. This will install a bunch of packages that are required for this tutorial. Okay. While it install, let's go to the next steps, that is create and run a Flask web server, right? So first we'll need to create a app.py file. So here I'll create a app.py file. So app.py file will write all the Flask code in this file. Basically, everything Python related stuff will be in this file. So let's just write, and now the libraries are installed. So what we will do first is import Flask. So from Flask, import Flask. Cool. The next step is creating an instance of Flask. So app Flask underscore name. So this will create an instance of the Flask class. Okay, and name is basically referring to this current file. Okay, a current module. Cool. Let's go. Let's now create a route. So what is a route basically? So whatever you see on this website, this is a route. So jovian.com is a route. Now if I go to jovian.com/notebooks, it's another route. Okay, it is basically going to the notebooks route. So I will create a route like this slash. This basically means the home route, that is jovian.com. Okay, or for here it will be different. So app.route. So the route is the route is defined as a decorator. So I'll just say that, and I'll create a function called home, and I'll return hello world. Okay, so we're trying to create a Flask application where there will be a text called hello world, right? So now what we have to do is we have to run this. So we have to run the Flask application. So I can just copy this, but I'll just go step by step. So if name equals main, and here I can just say app.run. Cool. With this, I'll just zoom in the screen. Yep, I think that's visible, but that's better. Okay, so with this we can just run the Python file. Let's say python app.py, and you can see that it's running. It's showing up on the right side, that open in browser. I can click that and you'll be able to see a hello world here. I'll zoom in here. Yep, that's there, hello world. Cool. Now the next step is, if I want to change this hello world to net something else. I'll call this updated, right? I'll save it and let's refresh, but it's not showing up. The update is not showing up here. So what we have to do is, whenever we save, change something and save it, it should show up. So for that, we can activate the debug mode. So debug equals true. Okay, and I'll just close this uh, and run the server again. To close, I'll just say Control S, Control C, and run it again, Python app.py. Now again, let's see. So you can see this hello world updated, and now if I change something here, updated version 2, it should show up here also. Yep, it's showing up. So that is a simple basic Flask app. We have created a very basic Flask app, and I think it was very straightforward up till now. Yeah, the notebook is shared on the chat window, so you can just access the notebook from there. Okay, that's creating a simple Flask application, but now we will try to render an HTML template. Okay, for that we will create a new file here, new folder called templates, because Flask uses this folder, this templates name, for better for their rendering templates, right? Okay, so we have created a folder called templates here, and then we will create a new file. It can be anything. Let's call it index.html, and here we can write our HTML code. So I'll just copy this code here. Basically what we are doing is, we are giving a head a title of my first web page, and it says hello world from template. Now if I save this and if I load, it will not update because we have not updated in app.py. Okay, so here what I will do is, I'll have to render the template, right? So I'll render template and just give the path of the file. Now as I said, render template looks in the templates folder. Okay, so we don't have to give the path, exact path, like template slash index.html. We can just say index.html, and render template is not imported. I mean, yeah, not imported, so we can just import it, render template. I'm seeing some errors here, right? So I want to remove those errors that is causing by ESLint. So for now I will just deactivate ESLint. Yep, and the error should go. Yeah, cool. So now if I update this, yeah, this has so what happens in CodeSpace is, we are using a free version of CodeSpace. It reloads or stops sometime. Okay, or you can we see we've got an error here, so it has stopped. We can just say python app.py again, and it's starting. Yep, hello world from template. So this came from template, right? So you can see this template had a title, my first web page. So this title is showing up here on top, my first web page, and here the h1 is hello world from template. So that is what's coming here. So yes, we have created a web app and rendered a template, HTML template here. Cool. The next thing we are going to do is creating a simple form. So our end goal is creating an email spam classifier. It should have an input text area. It should have a heading like this. It should have a button. So this is the next thing we are going to do. So we are going to update this index.html file here, and we will give a h1. Let's say the heading will be email spam classifier. So let's see what we have got here. Yep, this is again reloaded, or what? Yeah, I think it's again, I have to reload this. Just I'll stop this and again python app.py. Okay, so I'm getting an error. So let's see what the error is. So first I'll update this Conda environment here. So the Conda environment is this one we are using, and yep, let's see. So we will try to fix this error. let's see, we will run this app again, and yep, it's now loading again. Okay, cool. So I think I think the Conda environment was the issue. So we have got the email spam classifier heading. Now we will create a form. In this, we will add a text area. Okay. And we will also add a button here. That's what is there in this thing. So a text area and a button. So this text area, let's now look at the web page once. Yep, we have a text area and a button. So let's modify it a bit. We will give a button. We'll call it check spam. And this text area can have a placeholder like this, enter your email. So let's do that. Enter your placeholder equals enter your email body. Okay. So once we save that and refresh this, we got this. This is good enough. I guess we are getting there. So we can say rows equals to we can increase the size of the text box. So I'll just modify this rows to, let's say, 15, and calls, number of calls, basically rows is the height and calls is the width. So I'll say width as, let's say, 25. Let's see how it looks now. Yep, it is looking a bit better. I can increase the width to 35, and yeah, I think this is better. So one more thing, I want this check spam below this, so I can create a different block for this. So what I will do is I'll put this in a div. Yep, that's there. And this is looking, let's refresh this. This is looking fine. In this, this is centered, so we can also add a style tag here to center everything. This is a naive way of adding CSS, but I'll be using this for now, just in the interest of time. So I'll be adding, let's say, body. I'll align the text to center. Okay, now let's see how it looks. Yep, everything is aligned to the center. We can also improve the button. So button, we can give a background color of blue and a text color or color of white. Yep, let's see how it looks. Yeah, this is looking better. So now we have our simple form. Okay, but what does this form do? This does nothing as of now, right? If I just click here and write something, it will do nothing. What we want is, we want something, this whatever we have written here, we want to display it below, right? So let's do that. I'll just zoom in a bit more. Yeah, this is better. Okay, so let's write something here, right below. So we can just give a paragraph tag or a heading h2 tag. I'm giving a heading h2 tag here. H2 is basically second header, and I'll say hi. So let's refresh the page again, and you can see hi here. So instead of hi, I want to display whatever is showing up here, right? So what we can do is, we have to update, we can use Jinja template. Okay, so we have to update few things in this. First, we'll go to the app.py file. Okay, and here we will give the method. So we are sending a post request by clicking on this button. Okay, so we can update that. We can go to the index.html and say this button, this form will send a post request. The method is post. All right, cool. Now the post request is sent. Okay, what we want is, we want to get the text from the post, right? We can say the method. So this particular route, okay, home route accepts two methods. It accepts a get and a post request. So why get? Get is basically when you open this web page or when open this URL, okay, it will fetch the web page from the server and get it, okay. So that is get. And post is on clicking this button, it will show something here. So that is the post request, right? So both get and post. And I'll just say if request dot method equals post, there will be a text which is request dot, let's see, it is request dot form dot get, right? So it's, the code is here. We can just say text equals to request dot form dot get. Okay, cool. I will return the text here, but one thing you can see that there is something called email content. I don't know what that is. Okay, so basically email content should be the name of the text area. So we'll add a name here. So we are fetching this email content. Okay, email content. So we will be getting text from this email content text area, right? And request is not present here. That's why it's giving the error. So we can just say request. We can import the request from Flask. Cool. So that's great. Okay, but if we still refresh this, okay, this has, I'll have to run the server again. So yep, let's see, let's run the server again. Getting some error. Okay, let's see, we are getting some error. Let's fix that. So what we have done is we have added a method post, okay, and it shouldn't give a error. Let me just run that server again. Yep, just this happens sometime with code spaces. Let's just run the server again. So this, yeah, it's running now. Okay, so this problem doesn't happen with your local development VS Code. Okay, it happens sometime with code spaces. So now if I write something here, okay, let's say hello world. I'll click check spam and it should show hello world here, but it's not showing up because we are fetching the hi till now. So we will use this Jinja template, okay, and Jinja template engine to get the text from here. Okay, so this, we have returned the text in app.py. This is the text we have returned. I want to fetch that text, right? Okay, so I'll fetch that text here and that should show up now. Let's type hello world. Yep, it's showing up here. One more thing we want is we want to show the hello world here. Okay, so what we can do, we can just give the hello world here, the text here also in the text area. Okay, so now if I just say hello world, it's showing up here also and it's still remaining here also. It's not showing entire email content. Okay, that's great. We are midway through. Now what else to do? We can I want to reset this. Now if I refresh this page, okay, this hello world will still remain here. So I want to reset this. So a very nice way of doing this is I will just add a href here. Okay, and I'll give a path. I'll give the home route. Okay, and I'll give a reset text. So what this will do, this will add a hyperlink or this will add a link, okay, of reset, okay, and we'll just fetch the home route. Okay, I'll get the get request. So let's refresh and we have got a reset button. And let's see, if I just click on this reset, everything is reset. Okay, so again, this is looking a lot better now. Hello world, check spam, it shows hello world and reset. Okay, cool. We have now fetched, like we have now shown whatever is input we are giving in the text area, we are now showing it on the web page. Okay, so what's the next step? Now let's learn a bit about the model itself. Okay, so an email spam classifier model is a classification model And what it does is it categorizes either a email is spam or not spam. Okay, that's the basic thing. Now the data set has a labeled emails. Okay, so, and it also has some email body. So basically the dataset has an email body, the label that it is a spam or not a spam, and it's a classification supervised model. Okay, so I'm not going deep into the models and what models are trained. I'll link a notebook here. You can check that how the model was trained. But what are the things to note? The things to note is the model takes a plain text, will send the plain text using this text area. Okay, it will tokenize. Okay, so we'll have to tokenize the text. Okay, so that step we need to do. Then it will run the model.predict. Okay, the tokenized text, and it will return either one, which is spam, or not one, which is not spam. So that's the basic thing you need to know about this model. Okay, cool. Now let's head on to running the model locally. But before doing that, we need a few things. We need the model and the tokenizer. Okay, or we are using count vectorizer here. We need these two things. So I have linked those two things here, count vectorizer and model. What we will do is I already have it downloaded. Okay, so I will use that, but you can download it from these links. Now we will create a new folder named model. Okay, inside our repository. So let's create a new folder here. So the folder is models, and inside this models I already have a couple of files, the models. I'll just paste it here. Cool, the models are there. The models are loaded. Now what I will do is so now I will have to load that model. Right now I have to load that model, integrate that model to our web page. Right, so we will update the app.py file. We'll start with updating the app.py file, and here we have defined this thing in the home route. Okay, we have defined this hello world, this post response in the in this particular home or default route. But I'm going to create a new route that will take a post request. So let's say app.route, and we will give a new route called predict, and this will take methods as post, only the post method. Right, so basically this method, this route will only be fetched only when we click on the check spam button. Cool, so I will say post here, and we'll create a new function called predict. Cool, and we will again return the same template, rendered template, that is index.html template. We can use the same template for multiple functions, so we are using the same template. Okay, so now we don't need these things, this text request.post. Okay, so basically the home route will now only get this page. If I am in the home route, I'll only see this page, nothing else. Right, so I will remove this methods also. We don't need a post method for the home route, and that's it. So this is the home route, and we are creating the predict route now. In this, what we have to do is first we have to get the email text. So this text, whatever we're giving here, you have to get that. For that, we can say email text equals to request dot get dot request dot form dot get. Yep, request dot form dot get, and we need to specify the text area name here. So email content, email, yep, this is the one, email content, email content. Okay, so we got the email text now. So whatever we are writing here, this will be coming here. Cool, now what we have to do next, we have to tokenize this text. Right, so to tokenize this text, we have to basically, let's define a new variable, tokenized email. We have to tokenize. Now we have to use this tokenizer, this count vectorizer CV. Okay, so this is the model, count vectorizer model, which will tokenize. So we can just say cv dot transform. Okay, So this is coming from sklearn. We use the transform, but we don't have CV yet, right? So first we'll have to import the pickle library. So it's a pickle file. We have to load the CV and model. Okay. So let's import pickle, and we have to basically load this pickles. So let's do that. Import pickle, CV equals pickle dot load, open CV dot pickle. I can call it, let's say, tokenizer, and read binary, because a pickle file is a binary file, so we'll say read binary. Similarly, the model can be pickle dot load, open clf dot pickle, and again read binary. So clf is the classifier, that is the model. And this specific models, you might not recognize these names because I have created these models, and you might not have idea. But when you are having your own model, when you want to deploy that, okay, you will have the particular pickle file name and everything you will have with yourself, right? So this is tokenizer. This is the model. I've got this. So this request spelling is wrong, request. Yep. Now this tokenizer dot transform, and I can say email text, and again I'll have to predict the model also. So predictions, let's say predictions equals to model dot predict. This is what we do in sklearn to predict a model. Tokenized email. Okay, so this is the pre-processed text. Okay, and we are passing that, so you can also call it the x value. This is the x. Okay, we're passing it to model dot predict. Fine. Cool. Now one last thing here is, if the prediction is 1, it is spam, and if the prediction is not 1, then it is not spam. So let's do predictions equals 1 if predictions equals 1, else -1. So if it is a spam, well, it will be 1. Fine. If it is already 1, it will be 1. If it is not 1, it will be -1. Okay. So all these things I have got from the model, okay, which I have defined. So these things might be particular. This will change from person to person, whatever models they are creating, whatever way they are training. Okay. So these things will have to get directly the idea from the model itself. Correct. Cool. So now we have this predictions. What we have to do is we have to pass these predictions. So predictions equals predictions and text. Okay, so we will also pass the email text. Remember, I want to show the email text here, so that it doesn't disappear. Okay, so I'll also return the email text. Okay, so text equals email text. Okay, let's call this email text also. Cool. So I think the spelling of predictions is wrong. Yep, that's correct now. So I think this is good. I don't need to change anything on the app.py file. What I have done is I have kept the default route as just fetching the index.html page. Okay, and I have created a new route called predict. Okay, which will take in a which will take get the text from the text area. Will do the tokenizing, will do the tokenizing part. Okay, and also do the prediction part, and it will return the prediction to the, basically it will return the prediction to the HTML. Okay, so now here what we have to do is we have to change this text to prediction. I hope it's called prediction, called predictions. Okay, so predictions, and again to save the email text we have changed it to email text, so I'll call it email text here in the text area. Cool. Let me just go to the new line here. Yep, so this is called text, email text, and yep, so we are, I think this is good. Now one thing here, so we have to give, so initially this form was posting to the default route, that's why we have not given anything else here. But now we are making a post request to the predict route. Okay, so we have to give actions here, so let's call it actions, and I will say predict. I'll give the route here. Okay, we are basically making a post request to the predict route. Okay, so let's see if this works or not. Okay, I'll have to run this again. This has reloaded. I'll call python app.py. Okay, so it says, oh, the path. Okay, so there is an error. Okay, it says the file not found error. So the path is wrong here. So I'll have to say models.cv.pickle, models/cv.pickle, and models/clf.pickle. Why? Because we have saved the models in the models directory. Okay, so that's there. Now let's try to run this again and see if it's working. Yep, it's running. Let us open it in browser. Let's give a simple text. Hello world. Or this is a email body. Okay, and let's see what we get. Oh, it says method not allowed. Okay, let's see what error we have got. It says 405. That means we are not able to get we're not able to make a post request. Let's see what's the error. So here we have given predict as the route. The method is post. Okay, one thing I'll do here is if request dot method equals post, I will get this email text, although I don't need this, but yeah, I'll just give this. Okay, so that means when there is a post request, I'll get the email text. Okay, that is fine, but actions method post actions predict. Okay, method post actions predict. I think this should work. Let me run this again. Let me see if this works. This is a email. Yep. Okay, finally. Cool. So I think this action was wrong in the previous one, so it should be action, not actions. Okay, but I am still getting an error here. It says that tokenized email CV transform, here it is wrong. Let's see. We will fix that error, but finally we were able to get this. So cv.transform email. Okay, cool. And we are getting the error as none type object, right? Cool. So none type object has no attribute lower. Okay, so let's see. I have not given any text. Is it? This is the email button. Okay, I'll just run this again. Python app.py. Okay, I think I'll have to open it again. Python app.py. Yeah, this is an issue with code space. I'll have to open in browser. Okay, none type attribute has no object lower. Cool. Let's look at the code again. So email, we are getting the email here, and this we are getting the name is content now. So content, this should be content. Okay, cool. I think this should work. Yep, finally we have got the result -1. So this is not a spam. Okay, so I think this content was wrong. Okay, this is now content. Okay, because I've copied the code from here. So this was having content and I had to set content here. Okay, so everything else is still the same. We are getting the email content from this. Okay, and we are creating the tokenization. We're doing the tokenization, we're doing the prediction, and we're returning the prediction. Okay, and the email text. So here we are just getting the email text in the text area and getting the predictions in the h2. Okay, so this is the result. Now we'll click on the reset to, we'll check just reset is working or not. So if we click reset, everything is reset. That's working fine. Okay, great. So now what we want is, now we want to show this as not -1 and 1. So we are getting -1 here. If we type this is an email, I want to show spam here instead of -1. So for that, what we can do is we can change this. We can add Python code here using Jinja template. So I'll just type here percentage, and here I'll say if prediction equals, this is just simple Python, if predictions equals 1, okay, then I will say, then this will be like spam. Okay, I'll write spam here, and else if elif, that is elif prediction equals -1 will be, this will be not spam. I'll copy this. Yep, so this will be not spam, correct. Now I'll end the if. So this is a bit different than Python but almost similar, so I'll just say this is end elif, sorry, end if, correct. Okay, so this is the format. So for writing a if here, if prediction equals 1 within this curly bracket and percentage, and this will be spam if it is prediction is 1. If it is -1, then it is not spam, correct. Let's now try to run this once. There is an email. If I, yep, it should be end if. Okay, so I'll just refresh this once. This is an email, and just clicking on this button, it says not spam. Okay, so we have got it. It should be end without space if. Okay, cool. So now we can modify this a bit. We can add a small style here. Okay, so style, let's say color is, for spam, let's say the color is red, and for not spam the color can be green. Okay, let's check what it does. Yep, not spam, this is working. Okay, so I have kept a temp spam email and a non-spam email example here. I'll just copy and see if it's working. Everything is working fine. So this is a spam email I got in my mail folder. Okay, and I'm not saying the model is 100% correct. Okay, it can also return wrong. So this is again a part of machine learning. Okay, so I am not going into the machine learning part. This can be not a spam email, but it's showing, it must show spam here. Okay, according to the model I have created. Again, I'll check this, and this shouldn't show spam. Let's check this once, and yeah, it's not spam. Okay, so great. I think we have finally created the model and run the model locally. So we have done most of the part. Now the next thing that is remaining is deploying this web application to cloud. Okay, so yeah, so the next part is deploying the web application to cloud. So what we will do is we will prepare for publishing first. Okay, so we have to have a requirement.txt file. In this requirements.txt file, we have to save all the libraries that are required for this particular project. Okay, so we already know that pip freeze shows. I'll just let me stop this server once. Okay, I'll show you what pip freeze shows. So if I do pip freeze here, it will show me all the libraries that are required for this particular project. Okay, so what I can do is I'll save all these things in requirements.txt file. Requirements, yeah, the spelling is correct. And here you see that all of this are saved. Okay, so there is a library called this. I think this is wrong. So in this case, I'll just uninstall it and install it again. Pip uninstall certify. I'll just uninstall this and pip install certify. Okay, let's see if it's now it's correct. So pip freeze greater than symbol requirements.txt, and yeah, now it's showing correct. Okay, So now we have all the libraries that are required for this particular project. Okay, so we have created a project, we are ready to deploy this. Okay, we'll take it to live. So next is pushing these changes to GitHub. So to do that, we can check the changes that are made here. Okay, so we have made changes in app.py, fine. Requirements.txt, settings.json. Yeah, this is looking fine. We can just commit it from here. We can just give a commit message and commit it from here, but I will just do it from the terminal for this time. Git add dot get commit -m. Let's say first commit. Yep, git push origin main. Yeah. So you might have to set a git config, like who is pushing, who is trying to commit. Okay. So if you are doing it for the first time, I have made I've set up a like link here. Okay. If you are getting an error while trying to commit, you can check this guide. Cool. Okay. Now the next thing is publishing with render. So we will directly head on to let's first check the GitHub repository now. Okay, so this was our repository in the beginning. You can make changes in the readme.md file, but let's check this first if it is working. Yep, all the changes are here. You can see the app.py file changes here. Okay, cool. Now let's open render for deployment. So render.com. So render lets you deploy some websites for free. Okay, and yep, it is very easy to use, so that's there also. So I'll just open render. I'll log in with GitHub. That's what I've done. So I have few previous deployments here. So what I will do here is I will create a new web service and I will configure GitHub here. I'll connect with my GitHub account. It's not connected, you can see. So I'll connect with GitHub by pressing configure GitHub. And all of these steps are also mentioned in this notebook. So if you you can follow this notebook also. So then I'll go to my account. Okay, and here I will say I'll give access to all repositories for now. Okay, and I'll say install. Yep, now GitHub is connected with Replit. Let me just refresh this once and let's press new web service. Yep, now it is now GitHub is connected with Replit, right? Okay. So if it was not working, you should once refresh the page because it's already connected. So this was the one I was working on, model deployment v2. Okay, I'll click on connect. Okay, now here I'll give a service name. I'll say model deployment. Okay, I can select a region. So I'll just select, I'll let it be the default region, Singapore, Southeast Asia. Try to select a region that's nearer to you or wherever the most traffic is. The main branch, I want to connect with the main branch. Okay, if I don't have any other branch as of now. Then I don't have any root directory, so I'll not set anything here. My root directory is already the one directory that is there. That is the this directory basically. Okay, if you have your root directory was src, you could have given that src or anything else. Now I am using python 3 as the runtime. We have created a requirements.txt file. So this is the build command here, pb install -r requirements.txt. This is fine. And also you can see that something here is gunicorn app:app. We have already installed gunicorn in our while creating the environment. Okay, so if you check the requirements.txt file, you can see gunicorn. So gunicorn helps you, you can say it's a library that helps you deploy your website. Okay, so here there are two things, app:app. So this app is the file name you are trying to run. Okay, so our file name is app, so this will be app. Okay, and this app is the Flask instance. Okay, so we have this in our app, we have something called app here, this app. Okay, so this is the app that is a Flask instance. Okay, I'll select the free instance type, that is that only has 512 MB RAM and 1.1 CPU, and I'll just click create web service. Okay, so now we have created the web service and let's go to the next step. Okay, so all these steps are mentioned here, what I have done. The next step is awaiting deployment. So now it will, you can see that deployment will start. Okay, and we'll have to wait. Okay, this at this point we'll have to wait for the deployment to run it, because we're using the free instance. It might take some time. Okay, and we might also get some errors, so that we'll have to fix. Now, why we have used Python 3.7.10? I mentioned at the very beginning that Conda created Python 3.7.10, because by default render is using Python 3.7.10. Okay, uh, so that's why we have used Python 3.7.10 as our Conda, and like for this in particular project. Okay, but if you want to use the latest Python version, you can just you have to mention this on the Python like environment file. Okay, so there is a doc here on how to use the latest Python version. Cool. So you can see it says build uploaded, so build successful. Okay, so build like all the packages were installed. Okay, all the required packages. Now it's starting to deploy. It's trying to start. Let's see. Yep, the service is live. Okay, cool. That was fast. Okay, so the service is now live. Let's check this. Okay, this is working fine. Let's zoom in. Yep. So now this link, this is my email body. Okay, let's check once. Yep, this is a spam. I don't know why, but this is a spam. So this link is live. This is published live, and everyone can access it. So I'll just post it in the comments, and everyone can access this but this particular link to check whether the email that I have got is a spam or not. So I have successfully deployed my email spam classifier model. Okay, in the same way you can deploy all other models. Okay, so we are done with the deployment. Okay, now one last thing we are going to cover is API, how to create an API route. Okay, so I'll just go back to my app.py file again, and here basically the very basic way of like what does the creating an API route mean is we are not going to use the web interface, this thing. Okay, we are going to send the request as a JSON. Okay, and we are also going to get the output as a JSON. Okay, so that is what by creating an API route means. Okay, API route. So we will do that. So let's again create a new route, app.route / API. So now we'll give a API. So this is a general convention we can say. So we can say API / predict. So this is the new route. This is not the same as this predict. Okay, and we can call methods. Again, this will be post. Okay. Now again, this is API. We can give a function name API predict. Function name can be anything. I'm calling it API predict. The first thing is getting the email. So email will be request dot get JSON. Okay, and I'll force JSON. Okay, I'll force that it to get JSON. Okay, so this is called force equals to true. Then I got the email body. So next part is same. Okay, so I'll just copy this, the same thing. Okay, and return. Again, I'll just return a JSON file, right? I'll not return this render template. I'll not return render template. I'll just return the JSON. So I'll say JSONify. And let's just return the prediction. Prediction equals prediction. Okay, so it's returning the JSON. Okay, but this JSONify is not, we have not imported the JSONify, so we can import it from Flask. JSONify, it's present in the Flask module. Yep, so now we have successfully created a API route. Okay, now let's try to see if this API route is accessible via web page. Okay, so I'll just say python app.py, and we have got our new this thing. This is an email. Okay, and if we click on button, you can see it's going to the predict route, and it's getting not spam. Okay, but if I just call like this API / predict, we are not getting anything. Okay, so this is now not how we call an API, correct? So what we can do is we can use different API tools. Okay, we can use maybe Postman, Insomnia, or other tools to call an API. We can also call it by request or by using terminal, but I will use a tool called Thunder Client. I'll install the extension Thunder Client, and while it's installing, I'll go back to my notebook. Okay, so here is how you can fetch the API. Okay, you can use command line, you can use Python, you can use any API testing tools. Okay, for example, Thunder Client, Insomnia, Postman. I'll be using Thunder Client here, so let's go back. I think Thunder Client is already installed. Yep, let me just refresh this code space once. Yeah, and Thunder Client should show up here. Yeah, Thunder Client is here. Okay, so I will do a new request, and here I have to give my URL. Okay, so this URL. So for that, first we'll have to run this. First we'll have to run our app, python app.py. Okay, now it's running in this particular link. Okay, so the URL will be this link /API/predict. Okay, so this is the URL. Yeah, I'll just copy this and give the URL, and we are sending a post request, not a get request. Okay, so I'll post, and the body, so what will the body have, right? So let's go back to the code once, and here you can see we are, yep, so we have to give a content. So let's just go back here. Yeah, request.getJSON. So we, okay, we're getting the data in this form. Okay, we have to get the content. So this is the data, and out of that we are fetching the content. Okay, so this will be the data. We are getting the data, and the email is basically the content from the data. Okay, so this content should be a key in the JSON. Okay, so now let's see. So we will be sending a JSON with a key called content. Okay, and this is the email body. Okay, now let's try to send this, and we are not getting a response. Let me just run this once again. Yep, I'll close everything and let's run this once again. Python app.py. Let's see, open in browser. Now this /API/predict. I'll copy this, copy and paste this new URL here. We have this new URL, and I am sending this. So it's showing method not allowed. So have I done? Okay, /API/predict methods post. Let me check. /API/predict method post and force true. Okay, I will just copy this once. Yep, so this should return. Let me just run this once again. Yep, this is running /API/predict. I think I will, okay, let me check. New request here, change the link, and let's send. Okay, I'll have to deploy this because I think this is not taking this local host. Okay, so let me just once again make a git push. Okay, I'll just make a git push once again with the new code. So added API route, commit. Yep, I'll stage everything and make the changes. So what it will do is it will automatically deploy the new code to render. So let me just go to render. Okay, and here let's just sign in. Yep, deployment is progress. So the new version is deploying now. Okay, so let's wait for deployment. Yeah, it's still deploying. So you will see when it's deployed. Okay, let's wait for this while so one more thing I want to talk to you about is code refactoring. So what we can do is, so you can see in our code that this part is repeating twice. Okay, so we can refactor this, okay, and create a new utils file where we will predict our model. Okay, so let's do that. So first what we'll do is we'll create a new file called utils.py. Okay, and here we will copy a few things. First is the pickle part, import pickle, and this cv. We'll copy the models. Okay, we'll copy this and paste it here, the model loadings, and also import pickle. We are trying to reduce all of this from this particular file and create another file for the model prediction. Okay, now I'll copy this code, tokenized email equals to this, and paste it in the utils.py file. Okay, and I'll put it inside a function called def make prediction with the email body. Okay, and it will return a prediction. Okay, so once that's done, what we can do is we can just call this function make prediction here. So let's say prediction equals make prediction, and we will give email here. So it accepts our email, we'll give email here. So you can see make prediction is not available here, so we will have to import it. We'll import it from utils. We'll import make prediction. Okay, so now that is done. So now we can use this make prediction function to make prediction. We don't need this anymore. Again, we will just say prediction equals make prediction email. Okay, so now you can see the code is like reduced a lot. So we just have like 3 lines of code in each functions, 3 to 4 lines. So that's there. Now let's check the deployment once. Yep, the deployment is done. I'll go to the page here. So we have this API, right? So that was API/predict. So now what we can do is we can go to Thunder client. We can try to make a new request with this API/predict URL, make a post request, and in the body we will say content, this is a email body. Okay, and yeah, I think that's it. It takes the content from the data. I'll send this request. Yep, finally we got the API call. Okay, so fine. So we got a prediction of 1. That means it's a spam. Okay, so yep, so that's how you can create an API also and fetch an API. I think it was not working because we are using code space, and the code space, the localhost URL was, I think it's a bit different. But once now everyone can access this API and give a content, okay, and email body here, and you will get a spam or not spam like prediction will be either 1 or -1. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so that's what is there in this notebook. Also, you can follow this notebook and see how to create an API, a code refactor, and fetch the API. So one exercise for everyone is, I am not too good in creating a good UI. You can see that this is a very bad UI, and if I even zoom out, it will look even bad. Okay, so what you can do is you can try to improve the UI. Okay, and what you can add is you can add a heading here, you can add a introduction here, you can make the box like this, you can make the button like this, you can add the example spam email and example not spam email on the left side. And also what you can do is you can add another model. If you have like multiple machine learning models, you can add different models on the top. Okay, let's say spam classifier, then image classifier, whatever is there. Okay, all of this on the top, so you can change the UI, you can modify the UI yourself. So try to go through the entire notebook and uh, create this email spam classifier model deployment also. Okay, you already have the model, try to create the deployment. Okay, So what we have covered in this tutorial, so I think we are towards the end of this tutorial. We have covered how to uh, use Flask, okay, how to create a very basic website using Flask. Then we have also seen how to set up a GitHub and Conda environment, okay. I've seen how to use HTML and CSS and Python to then we have seen how to uh, run a model locally, how to integrate a model into our web page and run it locally. Then we have seen how to deploy the web application to cloud, use like push changes to GitHub, and then prepare it for then publish to render, then fix the errors in the render. So we have not got any error while publishing, but if you face any error, you have to make the changes again and then again push it. Okay. So those, and then we have seen how to create an API, and also seen how to fetch an API and do code refactoring. So that's all the things that is covered in this notebook. Okay. Here are a few references I have mentioned here, and also I have mentioned how to do a VS Code setup, or if you want to run this code in VS Code, and also if you want to run this code in Replit, I mentioned that. I hope this was very like very simple, beginner friendly tutorial. Although we faced a few technical difficulties in the middle, but I hope this was a very simple deployment process. Now I'll take a few questions. I think most of the questions are already replied, but let's see. Okay. Thank you for the good comments. Yep. Hope this notebook is useful to you. If you can refer it to this notebook anytime, we'll add the link in the description. Okay, web service is not working. I am not sure why it is not working. We can discuss this later. You can just post on, probably you can post on the YouTube comment, and we can talk further. Okay. Okay, there is a question. Okay, where we can find the pickle models to test the service and try it out yourself. Okay, so the pickle models are there in this Jupyter notebook. You'll find it here. Okay, the count vectorizer model and the classifier model. You can try it out. And also, if you have any different model, if you have created a different model, you can use that also. It doesn't have to be the same image spam classifier model. And okay, so there are definitely, this is not the, I would not say this is the ultimate way of creating a like deployment. There are a few steps. You might have to add authorizations. Also, you might have to add like the models might be very big. Okay, so you might have to add them in a database or create a Docker. Okay, and um, yeah, you can do a lot of things. So there is a scope of future work. You can see, you can implement authentication and user management. Okay, if you want to restrict some feature, you can scale the application for high traffic. Okay, then you can also, so obviously improve the user interface. We have not done a lot of in user interface side. Then you can also see, like, implement real-time updates. For example, like if someone is typing the email, you can just say spam or not spam. Okay, and a few more things. Okay, those are the things that you can do for future. This was a very beginner friendly. I tried to keep it very simple, just for anyone who has created a model. Okay, and just they can use the steps to deploy their model and showcase it in their probably LinkedIn or resume or anywhere. Okay, this, I try to keep it very beginner friendly, but there are a lot of things that can be done to improve this from this. Okay, cool. I think that's everything. Yep. Thanks for attending the session, and I'll end the session here. uh, okay, thank you for attending, and see you on a next video.